United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres arrived in Mali to show support for UN peacekeepers facing an Islamist insurgency that has killed scores of their colleagues. Guterres paid tribute to the brave men and women serving the mission in Mali. The operation, with the highest casualties last year, at their own personal risk, they have saved lives serving the cause of peace. 21 troops and 7 civilians with MINUSMA died last year, the UN said last week, and it was the highest number of fatalities of any UN peacekeeping mission for the 4th year running. During his 2-day solidarity visit to the capital Bamako and the provinces, Guterres will observe the fasting ritual of Ramadan. He is being accompanied by the UN's top officials for peacekeeping and logistical support and by the head of UNICEF, Henrietta Fore.
Aujourd'hui, dans ces 4 pays, et notamment ici au Mali, vous travaillez dans un cadre où la paix n'est pas assurée. Vous travaillez dans un cadre où il y a des groupes terroristes qui ne respectent rien et personne. Vous travaillez dans un cadre où il y a des trafics de drogue, d'êtres humains, d'armes. Je tiens aussi à vous dire que nous travaillons pour garantir une effective solidarité internationale à la force du G5 Sahel. Je rends hommage aux 5 pays du Sahel qui ont su assumer eux-mêmes le leadership face aux défis énormes auxquels ils font face.
Zimbabwe's Constitutional Court has today ruled against an application by foreign-based Zimbabweans who wanted to be allowed to vote from abroad in this year's polls. Zimbabwe elections will be held on the 30th of July. President of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, had previously warned that the country did not have the required resources to give the vote to the Zimbabweans based outside the country. Now, according to a report, this ruling will be a blow to the opposition MDC, who said giving the vote to Zimbabweans in the diaspora is a key outstanding issue that needs to be resolved before elections can be deemed free and fair. Zimbabwe's electoral laws states that only Zimbabweans living in the country can vote on election day. The Zimbabwe elections will be the first democratic ones without Robert Mugabe in power. Zimbabwe became independent in 1980 and has since led by Robert Mugabe, who stepped down last year. And now, ZANU-PF spokesperson Kennedy Mandaza joins us over the phone line. A very warm welcome to you and thank you so much for your time. Now, we have heard that Zimbabwe's Constitutional Court has today ruled against an application by foreign-based Zimbabweans who wanted to be allowed to vote from abroad in this year's polls. I just wanted to get more details from you. Why has this reason been done from the Constitutional Court, whereby those who wanted to vote abroad will not be allowed?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. The Constitutional Court, the full bench of the Constitutional Court, made a ruling today, and I think it is not a surprise to many people because it has been known that Zimbabwe is not prepared at the moment to have people that are in the diaspora exercise their right to vote. And you recall that during the process of making the current constitution, it was also agreed that it will take some time for Zimbabweans that are in the diaspora to exercise their right to vote while they are in the countries where they are residing at the moment. So the people that had decided to petition the High Court or to petition the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to make sure that the people that are in the diaspora are given the exercise their right to vote. I think they were not really informed of what had transpired during the course of the constitution-making process, which agreed amongst the parties that were involved that if ever there will be the diaspora vote, it may only take place in the year 2023, while during this time the country will be putting all the logistics that are required in order to make sure that elections, when they come in 2023, the people in the diaspora can vote. But we are yet to hear the reasons also that has informed the full bench of the Constitutional Court to make that determination, because when they gave out the ruling, they did not give the reasons. They said they would only give them at a later stage. So this is what is there. Whether it is a blow to MDC or a blow to any other party, I think it is neither here or there, because I believe so strongly that in the diaspora there are also many Zimbabweans that support ZANU-PF, and there are many Zimbabweans that also support MDC, and others that support the other parties that have just emerged. So if ever it is a blow to anybody, it is a blow to those that are in the diaspora, but not necessarily disadvantaging a specific political party.
And I understand that you're saying that it is a blow to opposition parties, but have there been dialogues that were put in place in order to actually hear what else could take place instead of ruling to this, saying that the application by the foreign-based Zimbabweans who wanted to be allowed to vote from abroad will not be allowed?
I think this has been a discourse that has been going on for a very long time. Especially starting from the point when there was a realization that there were many Zimbabweans that were in the diaspora. But in order for the country to have people in the diaspora vote, it means they should invest a lot of resources to make sure that they reach out to the people that are all over the world. So at the moment, Zimbabwe does not have those resources. And the political parties, they have been in discussion, all of them, including ZANU-PF, and they are all fully aware that at the moment it may not be the right time for the diaspora voter to be introduced for the Zimbabweans that are in the diaspora. But what has been happening so far is that political parties, individuals, and including the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, it has been inviting people across the world, that the Zimbabweans that are across the world, to come and register to vote and vote in Zimbabwe for the candidates that they would want to see at the end of the day winning the elections. So in spite of the fact that people in the diaspora may not be voting in the countries where they are residing, the invitation has been placed to all of them to go home, register to vote, verify whether they are on the voters' roll, and go and vote on the 30th, now that we know the date.
Now, I understand that Mnangagwa had previously warned that the country did not have the required resources to give the vote to the Zimbabweans based outside of the country. But now he also did mention, talking about other international countries, couldn't they have assisted in making sure that it was possible to get these the resources that are needed from elsewhere in order for those Zimbabweans to vote?
I think what is important for all of us, I think, is to understand that the president of Zimbabwe can only account for the resources that he has in the country. He cannot rely, the country cannot rely on what it is going to get from outside countries. As much as the government may source out the resources, including funding, to make sure that the elections do take place at the right time and in the right manner it should take place. I think the country cannot really budget on the basis of funds that may come from elsewhere. So when the president said that the country did not have the resources, I think he was speaking from the position that of knowing what the country has in its coffers, and it is on that basis that the funding cannot be availed for the people that are in the diaspora to vote while they are resident in the countries where they are.
All right, and then just lastly, Zimbabwe's elections will be held on the 30th of July. We know that you have released this today. Can we expect free, fair elections?
This is the desire and of everyone else that is going into this election. And the president of the country has been very clear since the day that he was in the day of his inauguration that he would want to see free, fair, transparent, and credible elections. And we are hoping that almost every other political party will also emulate the talks that he has been giving to the supporters of ZANU-PF and generally the people of Zimbabwe to make sure that they behave in a manner that will ensure that everyone will exercise his right to vote without having been coerced by anyone. And I think the country is ready, and we have had affirmation and confirmation from a number of international organizations that have said so far the environment that is obtaining in Zimbabwe is conducive for the elections.
Right.
The invitation by President Mnangagwa to a number of observer missions or countries to come and observe the elections is true testimony that he is prepared to have free, fair, and credible elections in Zimbabwe.
All right, thank you very much. That was ZANU-PF spokesperson Kennedy Mandaza joining us over the phone line, just giving us more details. As you know, that Zimbabwe's Constitutional Court has today ruled against an application by foreign-based Zimbabweans who wanted to be allowed to vote from abroad in this year's polls. And we know that Zimbabwe's elections will be taking place on the 30th of July. But we know that Emmerson Mnangagwa had previously warned that the country did not have the required resources to give the vote to the Zimbabweans based outside the country. Now, tensions are rising in Democratic Republic of Congo as President Joseph Kabila increasingly shows signs of intending to run for an unconstitutional third term as head of state in a country's general elections. DRC elections are due on the 23rd of December this year. From the sprawling capital Kinshasa to villages deep in the equatorial forests, Congo's ruling People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy is in full on election campaign mode, and President Joseph Kabila's face is everywhere. The deadline for declaring candidates is the 8th of August. However, Kabila has already overextended his second and supposedly last term by about 17 months, citing delays in updating the voters' roll. This postponement of elections has sparked several protests, which the government violently suppressed. Kabila has so far refused to announce whether or not he will run again in 2018. And now joining me in studio is Dr. Sinkala.
No, Jean Boissa.
Oh, Jean Boissa. Sorry about that. I was expecting Dr. Sinkala. Jean Boissa, spokesperson of the Congolese diaspora in SA. Thank you so much for joining us. Now,
it's a pleasure. Let's go.
And now let's get into it. This one is more of something that is a bit more confusing. We're not understanding this clinging onto power by Kabila. What are some of the theories that we can get out of this about how Kabila might manage to cling onto power?
Okay, first of all, and I would like to say thank you to Afro Worldview to invite us and express our views regarding our country, which we love. But I would like to divert a little bit and make a plea and make a call to President His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, who's the head of the SADC, so that the SADC at this moment, which is a regional organization that held meeting not so long ago, that they listen to the plight of the Congolese people and do the same that ECOWAS leaders did some months ago, a year and some months ago, regarding Gambia, when they had to remove Yaya Jammeh. So we pleading to Cyril Ramaphosa and all the SADC head of state to put an end to the atrocities that are happening in the Congo, because Congolese lives are precious as well as the South African lives or any other Southern African country are also precious to us as well.
But now on that point, the AU as well as the SADC, we haven't seen much of them coming in and saying a few things. They haven't been applying any tools to try and disposal of the sanction by Kabila and his government, as everyone else has been calling for this. Do they have the tools?
Yes, they do have the tools, because in terms of the Bill of Human Rights, whether it is from the AU, whether it is from the South African Bill of Rights as well, we have the right to lives, we Congolese. So it is important that they do not let Kabila infringe the constitution that was drafted here in South Africa. I've said it a countless number of times, and it is important that they respect that. And the AU leaders, I often call them misleaders, but I'm making a plea to them at this point of time. We have lost so many lives. I could say close to 12 million people have been killed for the past 20 years. We have the UN peacekeepers that are there for the past 20 years. They have done nothing. So it is important at this very moment that we end these masquerades. So we know the strategies of Kabila, which are nonetheless the same that Mobutu Sese Seko applied in 1990, because it is important to speak about the history of Congo, which is peculiar to any other African state. Mobutu clung to power in 1990 after the perestroika and the glasnost movement that came from the East when Gorbachev became president. And he clung to power for about 7 years, from 1990 to 1997, when he was forced to flee the country. And it is interesting to know that today, most of the advisors to Joseph Kabila are the people who served Mobutu during his tenure as a president. So all the strategies and the tricks that they are using now are the tricks that they used when Mobutu was in power. So they are not prepared to leave power unless they are chased by force, as it is stated in our constitution in provision 64.
And now you're talking about some of the strategies that he might try and use. Now we know that the newly appointed Constitutional Court is stacked with obviously the pro-Kabila judges handpicked by him and his party. Could we see unconstitutional change of power play out because of that?
Well, they've done it so many times, because all the judges in the Constitutional Court, that bench is made of pro-Kabila people, including the last person that he has picked, Advocate Nkulu, who is his advisor. This is a conflict of interest. How is that possible that you pick up your advisor and you put him in the Constitutional Court? So these are the people that are going to try to change this constitution again. And they are actually saying that this constitution, Kabila has served only one mandate, one term. Why? Because they made an amendment in 2011 before the elections. So that amendment actually gives him the right to concur again for the presidency. This is one of the strategies they are planning. But I do think that we, as the citizens of the Democratic Republic of Congo, it is important that we take a stand against these strategies. If we are at some point to march in the street of Kinshasa or here in South Africa to the embassy again to boycott these elections, we will do so. We want a transition without Joseph Kabila.
Now, talking about the two-term limit being amended, looking at how the situation is and looking at the strategies that Kabila is using, will it be possible to try and get that two-term limit to be amended?
Well, the only possibility that we have, as I said earlier on, might be the leaders of the SADC region to put a strong and firm voice for him to step down peacefully, because there's life after the presidency, or the population of the Democratic Republic of Congo to actually stand firm in the street of Kinshasa, in the street of any city in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as abroad, overseas, and here in South Africa, to say enough is enough. If we have to go in front of Francis Bard Embassy and block the streets so that we can have Kabila step down, we will do so.
Now, it is also said that Kabila has only been elected once under the amended constitution and is therefore eligible for a second term.
We are contesting that. We do not agree because this constitution, when it was drafted and when they made the amendment, there was no referendum. They didn't go to the population to say, we're going to make an amendment of the constitution. They did that because it's a dictatorship regime. It's a banana republic. But they never asked the acceptance, the acknowledgement of the population. So he has served his 2 terms. We disagree totally with that point.
So far, what kind of dialogues have you been having with the people of DRC? What more have you been talking and engaging on in terms of trying to maybe come to a national shutdown? Or what other elements do you want to put in place, most probably in the DRC? Well,
basically, we are actually rallying all the opposition political parties together. And you have seen, you might have heard about the alliance between the UDPS and the Ensemble from Moïse Katumbi. They are together now. They went to the US and they are actually lobbying so that they will only present one candidate for the presidency if ever those elections were to be held, because apparently for me, they might not be held, even though we see all these billboards with Kabila's pictures, posters, and saying that he's the right man to run the country again. So this is one of the things that we have done. The second thing that we are doing actually is to bring the solidarity of all the people that are friends of the Congo. We need the friends of the Congo. We've been partaking with meetings with some international organizations, Amnesty International here in South Africa, Civicus, and many other organizations, just to rally the people that can support and do the advocacy so that the atrocities that are happening in the Congo could end and stop once and for all so that we can rebuild our country. This is one of the things that we are doing because violence hasn't paid off. So we need now to strategize and gather everybody towards our cause, which is the genocide. And nobody's talking about. We were lately at the Joburg Holocaust and Genocide Center, where we met the responsible people. How is that possible that these people are dying and there's nothing that can be done? So we're trying to engage with them so that through the atrocities that are happening in the Congo, we can have a voice and say enough is enough.
And now, talking about Friends of Congo, I hear you mentioning international places as well. But now, there have been also key countries in the region who have already been vocal on this. And in the past week, we saw Angola stating clearly that Kabila must not stand for a 3rd term. Now, as the African continent, what more can be done to assist in this regard?
Well, I think what can be done more is to give sanctions. They've tried to give sanctions to the people of Congo that are leading with Joseph Kabila. But those sanctions, I don't think that they are proactive at this point of time because we see them traveling from one country to another and they're not arresting them. So those sanctions should be more drastic. They should be more firm. For instance, for them not to get the money that they have driven elsewhere than constructing and building Congo. See, this is one of the things that we want. But we would like to congratulate and acknowledge the fact that Joao Lourenço and some other African leaders have said and have taken on Kabila's willingness to stand and become and run again as the president of Congo.
And now we've also heard the latest, I think it was today in today's reports, where they have also said that French president has asked Kabila to quit. What has the DRC said about this?
Well, we know that the DRC government is saying that they have no right because each country has got its sovereignty. But I do think that we also say thank you to President Emmanuel Macron. But it should not just be mere talk on the lips. It should be more firmer than what they're saying. And actually, the same way they did in Ivory Coast, the same way that they did in with Yahya Jammeh, they should do the same with Joseph Kabila and stop him to run again as the president. And then we can install a transition for our country where we will find leaders that are going to run that country and rebuild the country so that we will have, at a later stage, free and fair elections. Because with Kabila, we won't have free and fair elections. That we know for sure.
And the way he has been carrying on is just, it keeps people guessing on what is he going to do, because he has not publicly stated that he won't obviously stand, which is, of course, leading to fears that he may change the constitution as well and seek re-election. But now, what more can be done in terms of moving forward to make sure that he does end up quitting?
Well, the only solution, and he stated it, he alleged to that himself a few months ago, that he's not going to relinquish power, which he thought that he took from his father. He was bequeathed the power by his father. So the only thing that we can do now is to force him by going into the street, as I said earlier on, and force him out of power, the same way the Togolese did, the same way other countries did. Even the French Revolution, they did the same to force the king to move from power. So this is the only solution that we have, because other than that, there's nothing he can do. He's got the gun, and we don't have the guns. And we don't have that strong force to push him out of power instead of the population being in the streets and be the shield to protect this constitution.
And now we understand that Cyril Ramaphosa and Paul Kagame are having discussions about the future of the DRC. But now we're kind of trying to find out the expectations from those discussions, because it seems like we haven't heard much from the SADC in terms of what is going to happen next and what are they thinking and what tools do they have in order to make sure that he does step down.
Well, I would more tackle with the diaspora here in South Africa. One of the things that we want as the diaspora in South Africa is to engage with His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, for us as the Congolese people to engage with him and have a sound dialogue so that we can tell him exactly what we want as Congolese people. Surely we don't want to die here. We want to go back in our country and rebuild our country with the expertise that we have gained from here. For instance, install a TRC commission that is going to see the way forward without Kabila. So with regard to President Kagame, we know that the Rwandan government is involved in the Democratic Republic of Congo in one way or another. Whether it is a good way or a bad way, we will need to check and control this after the removal of President Joseph Kabila.
And now you have also mentioned that voting will not be free and fair in the DRC. And most people have said that it is so difficult to get Joseph Kabila off and trying to tell him that he must leave. It seems as if most people are saying that the people of DRC just need to take it through to the ballot box.
Well, the ballot box, if we were to do the ballot box where now, Madame Lesegua may tell you that Congo is a vast, vast country. There are parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo which are inaccessible due to infrastructure. That's one. Two, there are also those ballot papers that haven't been checked. We heard some months ago that they registered children. We heard that there are not only children that were registered, but there are people that are not even citizens of the Congo that were registered. How do you have control on such a vote and election process in the Democratic Republic of Congo? They are saying that they're also going to use a machine, which is not part of the Constitution. How are we going to control that machine? Is it going to work? And there are parts in the Congo there is no electricity. So are you going to make sure that the people in the west, in the east, in the north, or in the south have voted? There are issues pertaining to the militias that are controlling the eastern side of the Congo. Not so long ago, we heard that there's a boat that capsized. 50 people died because there's no infrastructure. So it is difficult to go for a vote right away. This is my point of view, which is shared by some Congolese as well at the same time. But if we were to go to the vote as the international community is urging us to go to the votes, to the elections, so that we can have peace, then let it be. But we need to ensure that the peacekeeping mission that is there is going to be able to assure and to ensure that people are not killed, that people are not violated in their right to vote their right choice. That's the point.
Now, we do have a caller joining us over the phone line. We have Sibongiseni calling from Cape Town. Thank you so much for standing on the line. What is your question or comment to this evening? Sibongiseni, can you hear me? All right, we don't have Sibongiseni from Cape Town, but we do have David on the line. David, what is your comment or question this evening?
Good evening, and thank you for accepting my call. My comment is that I think the problem, the solution itself in DRC is a serious problem. Because in DRC, once there is an outsider trying to give hand, the people of DRC quickly turn against anybody, especially who is trying to help. I've been to peacekeeping missions in Africa for most part of my life. And what I've observed is that most of the Congolese people really, they need to pull up their socks and decide what they want to do with their country. Because for them to turn around and say Kabila or whoever, the next person will have the same problem. They should try to identify their weak points and strong points and work on that as a nation and move forward. Because that country is really hiding. They will always say, no, we have riches, we have this and this. But come to listening at each other. The Congolese lack the skill of listening at each other. That's a weak point that they have. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for that comment over there. I'm going to come to you, Abasa, and say that we've heard what David has said, talking about that the DRC needs to actually decide on their own on what they want to do in their own country in order for their country to move forward.
Well, it's quite right to say that. But as I said earlier on, the history of Congo, it's a peculiar history. And like any other country in Africa, any other colonized country in Africa, Congo was stolen from its independence with the killing and assassination of Patrice Emery Lumumba. Ever since that assassination, we haven't been able to be on our ground, just for the mere fact that we tend to forget that we are sitting on trillions that is actually attracting all the multinationals, all the other states in the world that want to exploit the minerals and the vast fertile soil that is in the Congo without giving back to the Congolese people. And this is the issue that we have in the Congo. I will say, for instance, that Congo has been at the forefront of all the 5 industrial revolutions that has occurred in the world. Just to state, the ending of the Second World War was because of the uranium that was extracted from the Congo, and which Charles Einstein in 1939 told the Americans, if you want to end the war, the solution is in the Congo. But these are things that people tend to ignore.
We now are joined by Dr. Charles Singala, international political expert. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
And now we've heard a caller, David, saying that the DRC needs to actually decide on what they want for their country, and they need to do this on their own. I want to get your perspective on this.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. It's quite difficult for the Congolese people, to decide. Congolese has been deprived for many years, ever since Mobutu Sese Seko was ousted in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The constitution itself does not allow the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo to have a say in the running of the governance of the country. It's not only the problem there in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Many African states, the president as a head of the executive arm of the government should be answerable to parliament. And unfortunately, African parliaments, they are appointed members of parliament who are cabinet ministers. So they are all aligned to the president. President Kabila has been there from 2001. I think it was immediately 10 days after the assassination of his father, which shouldn't have happened. I mean, the national speaker of assembly was supposed to be in between through that 90 days, to fill up that gap until another president is sworn in, So it's up to the international community. Like at the moment we're talking about now, President Kabila is illegitimate president of Democratic Republic of Congo. I do not recognize him personally myself because his term finished 17 months ago. There's nothing in the constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo which tells that a president has got an extension of his term. If you look at the years from 2001 to date, it's almost 20 years he's been in power. And we've got 5-year terms. So it's like it's done more than 3 terms or even 4. And now he's also indicating that he's going to run for another 3rd term, which, the problem is the international community, especially there's now much pressure on South Africa, being the chair of SADC, to intervene, the Vienna Conference or Vienna Agreement of 1961, which signed the bilateral agreement and relations to countries, forbids or protects sovereign countries, for any other country to dominate and tell them what to do. Otherwise, they have just to support them.
Dr. Singala, I'm going to have to come back to you, but we do have a caller on the line who also wants to just have a few comments over there. We have Karabin from Pretoria. Thank you so much for staying on the line. What is your comment or question this evening?
Thank you very much for picking my call. My name is Karabin. I'm from DRC.
Yes.
And very much concerned with the recent event of political situation in DRC. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Kabila and his concubine, his government, whatever it is, they are out of country, they are out of order, and they just want to cause more havoc in the country. The fact of the matter is that Congolese has been suffering for so much for too long now, and Kabila do not want to release power. What I'm saying is that the Kabila does not want to relinquish power, and the Congolese now, what it remains to do is to take control of themselves. How should we do that? Kabila took power through guns. He kills people for him to be where he is now. And for us to take him out, it's also through violence. I don't believe in the elections because he stolen the election in 2001, I mean 2006 and 2011 again, and in 2016 he refuses to run to go through what you call through the voting. Now they are postponing the election postponing because they know Congolese are so weak. The international community, they know how much Congolese are suffering, but no one is taking action to take this man out of power. The fact of the matter is that everybody is involved in this issue in order to plunder the resources of the Congolese. So the more Congolese they suffer, the happy the international community are. I don't think if Mr. Ramaphosa will do anything, because we know South Africa has got interest in the Congolese mineral. So they are happy for Congolese to continue to suffer.
All right, thank you so much, Karabin. We get what you are saying. We also have Lukeso from Florida. What is your comment or question this evening?
Good evening. I would like, first of all, to thank you for giving us this platform. And I would like to greet Mr. Jean and also congratulate him for his contribution. He's a man that I know he has been a fighter and he has been through all these things. And I would like to encourage him to carry on doing what he is doing. And what I want to mention right now is that our people, myself, I'm from Congo. I'm now a tutor at UNISA. I'm from Congo and I see how our people is suffering. And the Congolese people is now in a kind of dilemma whereby they have to take their situation into hand. But they don't have the means. Kabila has got all the means. He has taken power, he has soldiers, he has the control of the whole country. He has the forces that are needed to crush the people. And whenever the people want to stand for their rights, they are being really crushed. Human rights is being neglected. We've seen delegations coming from all over the world. One of the callers just mentions that Congolese must take their future into their hands. But how do we do that? Because we don't have the means. And we are looking at the international community. And this international community, the so-called AU, is just a club of dictators in Africa who support each other. And they are not ready to ask Kabila to leave because they know that once Kabila is out, it's the next one who's also going to be kicked out. So it's a sort of a situation whereby the people will still suffer and suffer. All this is happening because you are listening to things from far. But when you go to Congo, it's a big country. When you have everything, sometimes you have tears in your eyes, coming out of your eyes to see the level of resources that we have in terms of natural resources and the level of suffering of the people of the Congo. So we still hope that one day the president of South Africa, who is Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, we are hoping that he will understand that peace in Congo means peace in South Africa.
All right. Thank you so much, Lukeso, from that, calling from Florida. I'm going to come to Dr. Sankala. We've heard that people are saying that it's difficult to take Kabila out via elections. Suffering continues, but everyone who is involved, like the SADC, they're not doing much. I just want to get your arguments around that.
Yeah. I'm not a sadist, or do I preach about seeing people sad, but in terms of a political scenario, when a natural situation does not have a level platform for elections, this is where now we advocate for people to take up arms, and take to the streets and get power by P. Because, there's no democracy at the moment in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He has paralyzed the opposition. One of the oppositions, I think, if many, they're outside the country. The other main opposition leader, who's Mose Katumbi, who is the leader of the coalition political parties whom they have chosen that he can run for presidency. Also, they are doing a referendum before the elections and December 23rd, that he may be removed from there on the clause, on the basis that it is rumored that one of his parents came from Italy. So there's so much things which they're trying to intimidate and make sure that the level is not, the playing ground or the platform is not leveled. Also, there's rumors that they are introducing the electronic voting elections. You know, it has never happened in Democratic Republic of Congo's history. You know, people that do not know how to use those things, and it's very easy to manipulate the elections because they're citing that the country reached 100,000 polling stations, you know, which is unnecessary because Congo, they've got so much minerals and they trade internationally with diamonds and emeralds, you know. So the situation of trying to get democracy in Democratic Republic of Congo has been zeroed out since Mobutu Sese Seko removed, because the constitution does not allow for any political party to participate and give a chance for people to participate and choose a leader who is legit. You know, I give an example. In 2011, also Kabila lost those elections. I mean, he did his term. You know, it's quite unfortunately in Africa that we do not see ourselves as leaders to contribute to the country and identify ourselves that I can only play a part in the development of the country and somebody else must come and take the baton and move forward. We all suffer from the Messiah complex, which Patrick Pierre Lumumba always mentioned, that we are God-given, we want to be there. You know, this is unfortunately in this 21st century. You know, we've got also in Burundi, at the same time, the president there has changed the term of office to three terms. He has also altered the term length from 5 years to 7 years. You know, so if we can't win the elections or we can't take power democratically, you know, we've already having people dying in the Democratic Republic of Congo every day. You know, the people that do not want him, we have to replicate or what happened in Zimbabwe. You know, unfortunately, the international community have got very little things to do in terms of persuading Kabila from not standing. It will be against the Vienna Convention, which gives, allows bilateral relations and support of any government which is in hand. At the moment, like I mentioned earlier, his term finished. You know, as per the Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Speaker of the National Assembly was supposed to sit in because they cited at that time that they do not have funds to hold the elections. They need about $1 billion United States dollars to win the elections.
Unfortunately, Dr. Sinkala, I have run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, as well as Jean Boassa, spokesperson of the Congolese diaspora in South Africa, and then we had Dr. Charles Sinkala, international political expert, just giving us more details. As you know, that tensions are rising in the Democratic Republic of Congo as President Joseph Kabila increasingly showing signs of intending to run for an unconstitutional third term as head of state in the country. And right now, we'll take a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.